We're going. All right.
Hi, Dr. Misak here. If you're interested in understanding the science behind anti-aging, you must learn about telomeres. In 2009, the Nobel Prize for Medicine was given to three physiologists for their discovery of the enzyme.
Started a video, and there it is. Now we're live. Oh my!
Now we're live. Excellent. Good morning, Annie.
Good morning. I started our your vitalometry video right before we were live. Whoops. So yeah, but we made it.
All right. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Welcome. Happy Saturday. I always, I love pulling up this Bible app. Like this morning was crazy. We got here late. I was running my kids around, and then we got here and then made some breakfast, and we're like, Andy, we got to go on.
That's right. We were waiting on folks too, so we don't need to rush through.
Good.
Maybe just hang out for a minute. I'm not sure.
Well, we can still
give people a chance to see it because we didn't create an event today. We just went live. There's some people are popping on. They saw us. There it goes. Okay. Just want to make sure that worked because usually we create an event and then go live, but we didn't do that this week. So
I'm just happy that we actually have Annie getting some vocal time here. You're actually just letting me not rambling. You're talking today.
Yay, I'm talking. I can annoy everyone.
So Psalm 90:12 says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Isn't that awesome? To gain a heart of wisdom. I have people that I just find quite wise that truly have that heart and that desire to help others. And when that wisdom comes out, they don't even realize it's wisdom themselves. They're just like, I don't know. Most people just think that this is the way it ought to be, right? So, but I don't know, Annie, I'm going to take a sip of my deliciousness here that you saw me prepare a little while ago.
That's so rude. So sugary and nice. I'm not allowed to have it.
Oh, you didn't have to mention the sugar word. So we had breakfast, and then I experimented on Annie with some moldies and threw some pills at her. And so hopefully we won't be seeing her run into the bathroom like, oh, my God, what's happening to me?
Yep. Hear a thud. It's not me.
So there's a lot going on, people. We're working towards I don't know what the tagline's going across the screen today, but we're still working to get a
default support our mission.
Okay, so we're going to be doing a retreat coming up in May 27th to is it 27th to 31st, I believe. It's a Wednesday and a Sunday. And the problem is the reason we haven't emailed everybody is because we have not secured the space, and we are waiting to secure the space before we turn around and just email everybody and give you the highlights of everything that's going on. And so, and that's our biggest holdback right now. And so I'm going to log on real quick and go on my YouTube as well, turn my sound off so that I can at least see the chat this morning. And
vitalometry, because I'm on as you.
Yeah, I'm on. I'll be on his vitalometry.
Okay.
Yep. And Doc Misak live. There are 12 people watching. See, I told you. There's sound is up. All right. So this way I can at least see that chat for people and see who's here. Same people. I thank you. Betty, good morning. Beth Ann, good morning. You don't show as being on live. You have to really dig for the link. Yeah. Well, usually what we've been doing historically is we set up an event in YouTube, and then when we go to the event, what's happening is we go live, and it starts another event. So you guys would all be going in, waiting. Hey, where's the show? Where's the show? Where's the show? And then it starts up when we go live and hits on another show, and then it shows that we have this one out there hanging, and you guys miss it. So today we tried to go on without doing an event because we're having problems finding that transition from turning the event to saying, hey, we're starting at 10 to turning it on live. It's just that transition's not happening right. And so, Annie, you got any solutions for that or ideas yet?
I don't. I kind of hoped that, it would just prompt everybody that was following you that we were live, and it would just show up and be a little easier to navigate, not harder to find. But I'll look into some solutions, see what we can do. Maybe if I can create an event that's repeating every week, I can just have one link, so it would be the same link every week. We'll see. See what we can do.
It's all we can do. Yep. So again, Connie, good morning. Marty, good morning. Prophet Bear, good morning. Red Label, good morning. Diane, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. We're trying to sit here and continually think of better ways to just get the attention of people who are out there. We have near 1,000 followers, but how many are online right now? 12, 13? So if you're out there, we always appreciate, give the thumbs up and share the link, and just let people know. The people that are noticing that you're getting a notification, obviously the 1,000 people that we have on our channel are not getting notifications, and or they're just not on, or they don't know we're on, or and we post on Facebook to let people know. We try to keep the links going there for people to share and make it aware. But we're just having a difficult time to say, how can we get the numbers to where people can actually learn this stuff and people can be aware that we're here. So I don't know specifically. We were talking about, what are we going to talk about? And we're like, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? And it reminded me of the original Jungle Book. I don't know. What you want to do? Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. You tell me. What do you want to do? Well, don't start that again, right? You guys remember that? That was my favorite movie when I was a child. Jungle Book.
And, necessities.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just loved the music back then and whatever. And I had the 8-track tape. Those of you who don't even know what an 8-track is, but I had an 8-track of the Jungle Book. And I used to push that thing in and play it to death. So that was kind of a long, that takes me back. But so last week we brought in some interesting information. We brought in about organic acid testing and how you can turn around, and everything that I'm trying to teach and bring you guys to understand is to look at the body from an analytical perspective. Let's analyze, because an analysis says that if this is happening, then it's cause and effect, and this is going on, right? And so when we're doing live blood, we're looking, if you have these cell patterns in your blood, then this is definitely happening in your body. And so we see that when we're looking at cause and effect, we know that, hey, you need to do this, or this needs to be taken. Why do we do Rheems, biological theory of ionization, RBTI? Because it's a measurement. It's actually a way of turning around, taking an analysis, and looking and see, where is this person at this moment in time? And what blows people away is the amount of information that it tells you. Which organ systems are stressed? Are the body fluids too thick or too thin? Are the nerves being irritated? Are you breaking down and digesting your proteins? Are you more than likely putrefying things in your digestive tract? Are your kidneys overstressed? And we can turn around and I can look at those numbers many times, and I can extrapolate and say, hey, you need this. You need to turn around and, or do these labs. And you can predict that the labs are going to be abnormal. I can't predict how far abnormal they're going to be, but I can tell people, hey, your liver enzymes are probably going to be elevated. Hey, you're probably going to show a sluggish thyroid, and I've actually, seen in the numbers where you really should go get your PSA tested, because the numbers will point to an older guy that's pointing to the pelvic area. Extreme calcium deficiency. He is having some prostate symptoms, mild, hey, I'm waking up to pee, but then I'm looking at his numbers saying, you really need to go get that PSA tested, and it's running 100. And they're like, oh my God, we need to turn around and we need to do a biopsy and we need to do a CT scan. and look for cancer. We need to run a CEA, or a CA 15-3. These cancer markers. And I'm not here to diagnose anybody with cancer. But the interesting thing is you can tell by looking at the blood, by looking at those numbers, when people are really just not doing well. I'm not here to predict or say you have cancer, but you can tell the people who are patterns that present themselves that you'll be like, this person is really breaking down. So the main thing is to think analytically, is what do we need to do to think analytically? Because sometimes you're running those numbers, and I know Betty Hernandez is out there. And those of you who don't know Betty Hernandez, we were going to have her on the show this morning. And Betty is Dr. Rheems' daughter, Dr. Carrie Rheems. And I won't say why Betty didn't come on the show this morning. And if she wants to add it to the chat, but she can. But we're going to get Betty back on this show. And she's just going to bring a perspective that's going on. You're laughing.
She gave you a laugh out loud.
Exactly. And so now I've lost my train of thought. But what we want to do again, even with bringing Betty on, I'd love to bring Betty. And Betty, I want to get Paul. If we can get Paul Braddock to turn around and learn how to do a Zoom meeting, let's get him on the show, and you two just come on and just tell some stories, because people need to hear these stories. We can save them, or we'll have them on video and stuff that can be passed down for people to actually see what's going on. Now, unfortunately, in the RBTI world, we've had some great losses in the past month and a half. Of people who have passed away. I don't know of those who know the history of RBTI and Dr. Sandy Bedeau and how he's written the book. So whenever we talk about the textbook for RBTI, we always refer to Dr. Sandy Bedeau's book. And Dr. Bedeau passed away last month. And then there's another practitioner that people have heard about that at one point, it was Challen Wyckoff years and years ago, when Dr. Rheems could not drive because of his eyesight. Challen Wyckoff was driving him around and was helping around and things like that. And so he picked up how to understand the numbers, and he became a practitioner and promoted RBTI for years. He passed away, last month. And then one of the story goes that Dr. Rheems, taught his 9 classes. He had a 9-level program to learn the mathematics and those type of things. And at the highest level, only 3 people or 3 or 4 people actually attended that class. Sandy Bedeau was one of them, and another was Bob Pike. And Bob Pike passed away just about a month and a half ago. I think Bob Pike was in his 90s. I know Betty knows exactly how old he was. But, so we looked down, and yes, testimony is necessary. I agree, Prophet Bear. But, we have these iconic people in the history of RBTI who have passed away. And what a blow to a system of measurement and understanding of health that just is not out there. And unfortunately, that leaves me, people. That totally leaves me to try to bring this to you, because even while, these other people, there's still Michael Olsta, and Michael's an incredible guy. I don't know anybody who has taken the information of Dr. Rheems with Manthey's work and listening to the old tapes, the anatomy tapes, and those type of things, and who can present RBTI in a textbook theory, philosophy, presentation way to give you an understanding of what happens. I love Michael Olson's where he explains, where he's talking about cancer, and he wrote the aspects of, a carcinoid cell is what Dr. Rheems called a cell that would separate itself from control of your nervous system. And so it was a cell less than 100%. So you had alpha cells, which are 100%, energy efficient. But then you had delta and omega cells. A delta cell was less than 100%, and an omega cell was a dead cell. And when these delta cells were less than 100%, the body says, hey, it's time to replace you. But then what we see is it gets separated from control of our body, and that's where a carcinoid cell says, hey, it can still survive, but it's not a part of the collective nature of health. And so what happens was when those cells, those delta cells are separating, that there's a loss in density. I love when Michael Olster put this together, that something happens, that cell is not completely ionized together anymore, so it doesn't have that 100% efficiency. So there's a loss in density or a loss of calcium. And what fills that space is water. And then that water expands. What is that? What's a basic word that we use in alternative health for expansion and swelling? Annie, care? Inflammation. And how many people you can go online and you can listen to the Dr. Oz, the Dr. Axe, the whoever it is doctor out there in natural health that says that inflammation is the key of all disease. You know, Dr. Axe says everything is leaky gut, you know, that our gastrointestinal tract allows things to be absorbed that should not trigger off an inflammation reaction, and you get inflammation. Well, if you look at the basis of RBTI, if a cell's inflamed, there's less mass, there's more water, and it's inflaming. It's a less than omega, it's a less than 100% of cell. It's a cell that your body is in the process of needing to eliminate. And I just thought that that's just beautiful. I mean, that just explains the electrochemical nature of how all this stuff works. And so if you really, you know, Dr. Badeau in his textbook, he explains cations and anions and the general nature of these things, of how pH is recognizing as resistance and speed of how things are going, and how sugars are in association with oxygen availability, and how the combination of those numbers work together, and those patterns of where those numbers can be low on one end and high on the other, and what you will see as a result because of that. You know, you can see thyroid disorders when you have you need of potassium and you have higher pHs, and that sluggishness, you know. And you see adrenal disorders when you see the pHs separate and you see a higher conductivity, and that conductivity is causing like a static electricity in the body. You know, Badeau is genius in regards to being able to vocalize and teach RBTI in a capacity that nobody ever has. And then, but when Manthe and Dr. Rheems and those tapes, and Dr. Black, you know, was another one who was teaching, and who was it? Otis out of Australia. Betty, you can turn around. I don't remember who was out of Australia, but these other people turn around, and that's where the alphabetic reference manual came about for statements that Carrie Rheems made, and things that tie all this stuff together. That if you're talking about the liver, anytime Dr. Rheems had a statement about the liver, it would be incorporated into the alphabetic reference manual, were little statements that brings it together and ties all this stuff. People, this stuff needs, you know, the problem with RBTI is this diffuse nature of information and 1,000 interpretations of what to do with it. You know, so nowhere in Dr. Carrie Rheems's work did I ever come across him laying down a foundation of supplements for people to take. He would mention that certain supplements were good for certain conditions, high conductivity, you know, activated B6, you know, that activated B6 was just coming out in those days, you know. So he doesn't know about activated B12 and activated folic acid and methylation pathways and the things that we do today. You know, he talked about
Betty says Clarence Johnson.
Clarence Johnson. Okay, yeah. And so, but Rheems didn't teach aspects of methylation and glucuronidation and glutathione production and superoxide dismutase and genetic associations, because nutritional science has just blossomed and exploded since the 1990s. And so there's information now that we're taking genetic aspects and, again, cause and effect. So when I turn around, I have had some people turn around and do an Ancestry.com, get their genomic profile and download it into that Prometheus or one of those online nutritional associations with genetic variants, and look at where, hey, you have a genetic pathway that's consistent with this pathway being broken. But what's really ironic is the people who are studying those genes and looking at, wait a minute, we can manipulate and how the DNA and the RNA is being represented and being produced. That, guess what? It comes down to trace minerals is playing a role with that. It goes right back to what Carrie Rheems was trying to tell us, that these trace minerals are needed, And so when I'm looking at some of the things that I teach, and when I don't know, what's going on, like particularly what throws me is when you have somebody come in with a 1-to-2 or 1-to-3 ratio of their sugars to salts. They are not mineralizing. And nowhere are you going to find in any of that RBTI stuff, you're going to see stuff about lack of coordination. You might see somebody recommending sea salt in that circumstance to drive up that conductivity. But, I have found just miraculous responses with giving those fulvic and humic-based minerals or those colloidal minerals like TJ Clark's, and finding that those trace mineral blends just help to replenish and get that. It's like getting that ball rolling again to where they start utilizing and pulling energy back in. And so I'm a clinician, people. I look for cause and effect, and these numbers give me guidelines. So let me see what we got going on here. Let's see. We need you and Betty's books. My book. I'm going to be running away and working on my book here soon. I'm getting close to it. Hello, Charlie. How you doing today, bud? Good seeing you, or actually hearing that you're there. Hi, Betty. We met in Washington. Much love. Feel better soon. Prophet Bear, what's your views on fulvic and humic acids and how they help to organize things in the body? Oh, my God, you are a prophet. I mean, I was just already talking about it before I even saw your comment there, Prophet Bear. But when you're looking, those fulvic acid actually is a vehicle. It's a transporter. It helps to transport trace minerals across the cell membrane. And those sources of minerals are from fossilized, what is that? Mineralized, hardened rock, fossilized plant matter. And that plant and those fulvic minerals actually help, like I said, both transporting minerals into the cell and to helping detoxification. When I first got introduced to fulvic minerals back in probably late 1990s, they were promoting them in heavy metal toxicity and saying how the fulvic minerals can actually help people to detoxify. Let's see. Go by the numbers. Always go by the numbers. Thank you, Betty. He said, what was food for one was poison for the other. So when we're using nutritional science, it's not wrong. We are doing what he said and going by the numbers. Yeah, exactly. I see that, Betty. Go by the numbers. Like Dr. Rheems would talk about pantothenic acid. And we hear about pantothenic acid for what? The adrenal glands, right? We hear about pantothenic acid for people. You'll see it if you're in congestive heart failure. It helps with how your body is metabolically increasing activity. I think on RNA, pantothenic acid's involved in that. But what did Rheems? Rheems said that pantothenic acid was incredible for joint pain. And he used Whipple's bee pollen. It was bee pollen, or what's the other stuff that Whipple's royal jelly. That's what he would use. And he would give Whipple's royal jelly for people. And daily manufacturing would carry Whipple's royal jelly probably up until about 3 years ago. I'm sure Whipple's royal jelly is still out there. But if people had joint pain, that was one of the main things that was being used. Now, was there other things in the royal jelly? According to people who love royal jelly, yeah, immune factors and all types of other B vitamins. You don't have to be so quiet there, Annie.
Oh
I'm sitting
no.
here looking at these things as well.
Well, you're going.
Uh, Abby started making the green drink for myself before work. Can't believe the focus and energy it gives me in the morning. Yes, green drinks. Um, Rheems love giving green drink, particularly with sugar imbalances, to help people. And the chlorophyll, Rheems said that there was nothing better for pain than chlorophyll, than greens. And but what do most people think spinach, right? Spinach and spinach and spinach. And spinach is loaded with
Broccoli.
oxalates. What's that?
Broccoli stems. I don't know.
Broccoli.
I juice a
Yeah.
ton. Peas, like snap peas, and I don't know, anything green. Just
Romaine
get,
lettuce.
yes, anything in your fridge. Cabbage is really good for
It's
inflammation
hard
as
to
well.
find. Got to watch out. Cabbage. It's one of the dirty dozen. It's hard to
Well,
make sure
yeah.
you're washing that stuff though. But yeah, but he would turn around and he'd have you only drink a half a cup of green juice, people. We're not talking these people who are talking about juicing and making yourself a half gallon every morning and drinking juice all day long. The carbohydrate load alone on that is massive. Gerson did it. It is a great source of enzymes. It's a great source of readily available nutrients. There's nothing wrong with juicing at all, but we're not meant to just live on a half a gallon of juice every day. And so a green drink helps with detoxification. It helps with sugar regulation. It helps with pain control. It helps, if you historically chlorophyll, which is what gives most of the things their green color. Chlorophyll from the eclectic herbalist was called blood, because if you look at it, if you look at the structure of heme as the part of hemoglobin, okay, heme is a basic molecule, ring molecule that has an iron attached. Chlorophyll is the exact same molecule, but where that iron is attached, I think it's iodine is attached there. I'd have to go back and look at it, but it has the exact same structure, exact same as heme, but it just has, I think it's iodine is attached at that same part that iron is, and so historically, greens and chlorophyll are used for blood building from a herbal standpoint. Let's see here. I have looked for Widden's and cannot find it anymore. Widden's Royal Jelly. I heard that it's still out there, Betty. Connie, if I can't test an hour and a half to 2 hours after eating, is there still value in testing? Yeah. Just realize that if you are less than an hour, that your sugars and salts might be a little higher than what they were. And if you start learning how those numbers move as the sugars go down, pH goes up, salts go down with the sugars, cell debris tends to go down, nitrates tend to go down with the sugars because you're flushing all that stuff out. You can kind of look at a pattern and say, if you haven't eaten all day, and this is 8 hours later, and you have a Brix of 4.5, well, you're really not doing well, or you're really dehydrated, and you really ate something yesterday that you shouldn't have, And so, but yeah, it's okay to test outside that hour and a half to 2 hour window, but just be aware of when you're doing it that the values are going to be in association with it. The idea behind testing 1.5 to 2 hours later is how long does it take for you to take a solid bunch of food, put it down into your stomach, for your stomach to turn that into liquid, for that liquid to get absorbed into your bloodstream, for that go into your bloodstream to go process through the liver, and then the waste go process through the kidneys and get peed out. So you're looking at about 1.5 to 2 hours when we do drug levels of things, and you look at what it's called the pharmacokinetics of it. They look at a 2 to 4 hour period of getting a peak amount of that drug, and then how long does it take that drug to come out of you based upon the half-life of it. So, but it's usually 45 to 60 minutes to reach a peak value. So if it takes 45 to 60 minutes for you to digest it and get those levels up, what are we doing with food? 45 to 60 minutes, our body starts processing it. The next 45 to 60 minutes, we test, and we're seeing, hey, how much energy did we get from that food? That's the whole basis of why we test an hour and a half to 2 hours later. I read where licorice root was good for the adrenals. Yes, it is. Licorice has been shown to kind of enhance or actually prevent cortisol from being broken down and reuptake. It kind of recirculates it. But guess what? There's a study out there that glycerolic acid found in licorice kills the coronavirus. Isn't that something good to know? So that's a topic in itself. Annie's laughing. Let's go, Annie. Take over for a bit. Let me get a drink of my coffee.
Oh man. Oh, coronavirus. Why'd you have to say that? Mercy. Maybe you can talk about immune systems and how we make them actually grow them and, have a strong one. Talk a little bit about that. Coronavirus.
You guys notice I'm trying to get Annie to talk more, people.
I don't know why. I don't have interesting things to say. I mean, sometimes.
Yeah, well, we should go back and talk about, we could go back and talk about your labs and all that other stuff, which we did. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, coronavirus, people, I mean, isn't that the buzz right now? Where did it come from? Coronavirus has been around for a long time. That study about glycerolic acids found in licorice and actually inhibiting, it had an LD 100, which is a lethal dose 100% of the time of a certain amount of licorice. I can't remember the LD 100, but it's in that paper. You could probably look up glycerolic acid or glyceriza, GLYCERHIZA, maybe something like that. But glycerizic acid, which are the concern with licorice, and that way when you go and get licorice, you usually find deglycerized licorice. Do not take deglycerized licorice if you're trying to prevent the coronavirus, because it was the glycerizic acids that actually were killing the coronavirus. But coronavirus, people, I mean, we're looking here at another nasty bug. What can you do? I mean, number one, are you susceptible? Is your internal environment something that's susceptible to getting sick and having some virus come in and saying, hey, here's a happy place for me. I'm going to lay up foundation and we are going to thrive here, and enjoy themselves, And you typically see people who are super acid and super acidic. Things are moving too fast. They're not able to pull their nutrients out. And those are the ones that are most susceptible. It's acid over acid pHs. They're in that DE range and the RBTI, and they just are not doing well. So, what do we do for that? Get some vitamin D in you, and does vitamin D help your immune system? Yeah. So there's a lot of things that we can do naturally by going by the numbers that are enhancing that immune system. But what can you do, to enhance it? So I've heard things, again, anytime I see these nasty viruses coming out and these type of fearful tactics of what's going on, I always see stuff positive about colloidal silver being used. Definitely something that I would put as part of my arsenal. You always see things typically coming in about vitamin C. Yeah, people, take some vitamin C. And if you're prone to being acid conditions where your pH is running, less than 6 or something like that, then you need a form of vitamin C that won't make you acid. I have 2 of them. I love Innate Responses, vitamin C 400. They just sell it in big bottles that are 70-some bucks for 180 tablets. But even at a 400 milligram of their vitamin C, I find that it saturates people and does well. Dr. Rheems created SpectraScore that is sold by Daily Manufacturing. And basically, it's calcium, potassium, magnesium ascorbates. It's mineral-bound vitamin C. And there are other, I have a powdered ascorbic acid, mineral ascorbates. That's every teaspoon of this stuff is 4,000 milligrams because those mineral ascorbates are more buffered and they don't make your pH dive, while they're giving you those trace minerals as well. So vitamin C is something. Historically, when you're looking at immune activity, we see mushroom extracts. We see reishi mushroom. Reishi's been shown specifically like killing MRSA and having antimicrobial activity and immune boosting activity. Shiitake mushroom, immune boosting activity, increases interleukin I think it was interleukin-2 or something, because I remember that back in the 1990s, because one of the primary mechanisms for treating bladder cancer at the time was stimulating this interleukin. And I found that reishi mushroom was a natural substance that would do that for bladder, and you could use in bladder cancer. Chagra. What about another great one is cordyceps. Cordyceps is antiviral. Cordyceps is incredibly energetic for those of you who are trying to exercise and like, man, I just want a little bit of a kick in my game. Take a teaspoon of cordyceps and some tea each morning. Cordyceps will get your butt out of bed and get you going, people. Cordyceps is a great adaptogen, antiviral, immune boosting, those type of things. I have a little spray. It's a little mushroom spray that's got a mixture. I think the mushroom genius of the world is Paul Stamens, Stamens. He created a company called Fungi Perfecti, and Fungi Perfecti has a couple of products. He has his Stamens 7. I keep that handy in my office. He has his little sprays of peppermint and cinnamon mushroom extracts. It's like a mouth spray, like freshener, but it's immune boosting. Great thing.
Wow.
Keep your immune system boosted up. So, I mean, there's multiple things that you can do, but as a general rule, I take a shot glass of colloidal silver. I do at least 1 to 2 ounces, when I get up and go before I go to work. I'll take products that have the mushroom extract and sometimes grapefruit seed extract, olive leaf extract, immune boosters.
Elderberry is being mentioned.
Elderberry, great antimicrobial. Hey, people, what's in Vitalometry? Astragalus, wonderful immune boosting. Sambucus, that's elderberry, is in Vitalometry. Green tea extract, polyphenols, antioxidants. Those help with immune responses. Lemon helps with immune responses. Loaded with vitamin C. It has purslane in it, essential fats, but purslane's loaded, again, has vitamin C and bioflavonoids in it. So just again, taking something like Vitalometry can possibly be part of that thing. Now, what do we do if you got it? I love the history of using no-sodes, homeopathic dilutional no-sodes. I make one. It is called, I just call it flu prevention no-sode. We can't claim it prevents the flu, but what it is, homeopathic dilutions of influenza. And then you remember that funny machine that we put Annie on and we were pushing on her fingers? That electrodermal machine called EAV equipment. You see it over there in the corner, And that EAV equipment, you can turn around and electrically find frequencies that balance people. Right. And so there is the coronavirus is in there. So I could take homeopathic dilutions of the coronavirus. OK. And then I can project them into my flu no-sode. And all you do is succuss it. And then you squeeze everything out of it. And then you take a little bit under your home and you keep it there for about 30 seconds. And while it's there, you're letting it absorb and whatever else. But homeopathics are basically to energetic forms to stimulate the body against whatever you're giving it. So when you're doing no-sodes, a no-sode or a sarcode is a diseased tissue homeopathic. You take that diseased tissue, you dilute it down to this diseased tissue, and we dilute it to where energetically you can't measure an atom of it there, or I wouldn't say energetically, but physically you can't measure an atom of it there, but electrically or energetically the frequency of that is being purified by removing the crude. Well, the same here. On a no-sode, you're taking homeopathic dilutions of the flu, or they're using old viral strains from vaccines, and then they dilute them homeopathically, so you're purifying the energy of that. So you're stimulating your body with the energy of what would cause the disease in the first place. So a flu no-sode with the coronavirus no-sode vibrational put in there, and that's what I do. And I sell this little whopping bottle. I make them, and I sell them for $15. And this little bottle will last me the whole season. You do it 3 times a day, for 3 days, and then once a week you succuss it, and then once a week you do a dose as a preventative. And that's kind of how you do homeopathic nosodes. And so historically, like for people who can't do vaccines, and you can't, medically you have this high susceptibility or genetic predisposition that says, hey, I don't want my kid to get autism because it's running in my family and we're not going to vaccinate, or something to that effect. Or I've done a vaccine and, oh my God, I have Guillain-Barré syndrome or Stephen Johnson syndrome, and I'm never doing another vaccine. So what we historically would do is homeopathic nosodes. So I make a homeopathic nosode kit, and so you turn around and you have pellets of diphtheria and pertussis, which is whooping cough. Hey, there was a case of whooping cough confirmed in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, just last week. So what do? Homeopathic whooping cough, homeopathic mumps, homeopathic measles, whatever. We have homeopathic scarlet fever, scarlatinum. We have homeopathic meningitis, and so we give these homeopathics 3 times a day for 3 days, and then once a week as a preventative. And if you ever have an outbreak, like, hey, whooping cough's going around, then you take it 3 times a day. And then, at the acute outbreak, if you're going exposed to it, then, hey, I'm going to take it before I go to work with it. I'm going to do a shot glass of colloidal silver, and then I'm going to take a homeopathic nosode. I mean, that's just how I kind of look at things, because everything is energy, people. Everything is energy. And homeopathy is basically diluted, energetic forms of medicine to stimulate your body to intrinsically respond to it. So there's my 2 cents on your immune system. Annie, you got something else to throw at me while I look at these?
No, that was awesome. The nosode things. You got an okay to shut up and take my money from Prophet Bear. Because it's interesting. Different approach on a vaccine. I think that's information that's vitally needed and is kind of not given out.
So here is Connie. Do you recommend vitalometry anytime, even while working through other protocols with you? I don't recommend vitalometry to my clients because to me it's unethical. It's my product, and you can turn around and say, hey, you should be on my product because I made it, and I'm not going to do that. But if you look at what's in vitalometry, and when I look at what it does to the numbers, I see a general improvement in people's numbers with taking it. If you live in a state like Pennsylvania where there are ticks and you have, that concern with Lyme disease, if you look at Stephen Bruner's protocol, 2,000 milligrams of astragalus a day is just recommended, which would be probably about 5 of those vitalometry versus 4. But most people take 4 vitalometry a day. I take 4 typically when I'm getting up, and I sometimes will take 3 or 4 more in the afternoon if I didn't get enough sleep and I'm feeling the effects of the day and I'm feeling tired. But some people take 2 vitalometry in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. And those of you who have tried vitalometry, please, make a comment, let people know. I tell people go to don't buy it from Amazon. You can go straight to my website, and if you use that, which is vitalometry.com, and maybe Andy, you can put the vitalometry.com link in the chat. But if you use Doc Misak, DOCMISAK, you'll get 15% off. And because Annie is doing all this stuff for helping me be on the air, guys. We're going to help reimburse Annie through that code. So you use that code, we're going to give some money to Annie. And so we talked about, listen, people, we presented Annie and all this other stuff, and now we know that she needs to go back and do other testing. And so, and I said, hey, we need to do about $600 worth of testing at Annie. So I told her, I said, Annie, I'm going to say if everybody sent $20 cash to the vitalometry, the thing, and said for Annie, we'd easily have it, And but we're working on that. We're going to get her there and just keep doing these things. Still having her do those lovely colonics once a week. How do you like that, Annie?
I do like it. It's very necessary. I feel good after it. So as terrible as it is, I guess it's fine.
Yeah, I can't say that I enjoy colonics people, but I certainly love how I feel after them and everything. So, but there's some things. Let me see what else is going on here. Um, okay, Doc, shut up and take my money. um, are there any questions out there? Because I had a younger population that my daughter hangs out with, and introduce myself, and I had a couple of them tune in, and they're like, "Dude, love listening to you, but an hour long? Can you keep these like 10 to 15 minutes? We'll watch them." There's this young population that wants short shows, and so that's why we did the. We're going to try to do some type of product highlight or something. If you have ideas of saying, hey, talk about something specific in a very short show, I'm more than happy to do that type of thing. There was a question last week. Do you remember what that was, Annie, about at the last when we did that
I
short?
believe you answered it though, after the fact. But you do have a couple questions. What about mosquitoes? What deters them? Calcium absorption tips, and what can help decrease eye floaters? I'd like to know that.
Okay, there you go. Well, okay, the first one, mosquitoes. What do you do? Good question. Some people are talking about geranium as a essential oil. You'll find aromatherapy blends. Sometimes those aromatherapy blends are great. Other times they don't work where they who, particularly with ticks. I've had people who go out and have tried every aromatherapy blend known to mankind, and they still come in and they're pulling ticks off themselves because they're out. They like getting outdoors. And so, but I have seen some of those natural things are usually citrus based, the citronella, and they'll use citronella and geranium, and I think basil is used as a deterrent for insects and stuff like that. That's kind of what I do. I use those aromatherapy blends. You can actually make your own where you put a little bit of alcohol and some water, and you add your oil blends in a spray bottle and mist it all over you. DEET, I don't like it. Nowadays, they're making clothes embedded with DEET or gaiters on your shoes embedded with DEET for those who are going out and just to keep those ticks off of you. Um, Lyme disease is nasty, people. You don't want it. It is debilitating. It is like, let me die, debilitating wise. And so, if you are outdoors, check yourself for those bugs. If you find a bug, pull that thing off, put it in a Ziploc baggie, and send it off to be tested and see what they're finding on it. And they have to be, attached to you for a particular amount of time, and what they're suggesting in order for you to develop Lyme. But people, I just, if I were to find a big tick on me, send it off. I would be doing some Lyme protocol just immediately. Cat's claw, endographis, polygonum, astragalus, those basic Stephen Bruner kind of protocols. I'd add colloidal silver to the mix. I find it hard enough. I can't afford to get sick yet alone. Have something that debilitating. I'd be jumping in my hyperbaric chamber, or whatever. That is not something to mess with. In regards to calcium absorption tips, good question. It depends on your body's ability, your digestive ability. What's your saliva pH? If you have a saliva pH of 6.8 to 7.2, you're not going to be pulling in your calcium. If you look, historically, there's a huge, debate in the RBTI world about the mineral absorption chart. Dr. Carrie Rheems said is that if you are if you're below 5.3 or above 7.2 pH, your minerals are just not being available or used. And then he also, in Bedeau, if you go and look at Bedeau's book, he has this picture of this guy and these vortexes, and on the side, it has an idea of where the ideal pH is coming at 6.4, right at the level of the belly button. And then as you look at the picture, you'll see where certain minerals are aligning with certain pHs and saying that, hey, they're not available. And there's these mineral absorption or mineral availability charts out there. And And whereas if you're outside of below 5.3 or above 7.2, hey, your minerals are available. So what difference does it take what you're taking? You got to bring that pH in, and what brings it in? Calcium, right forms of it. Some people have to do lime water, liquid. I rarely use it, but I use vitamin D. Vitamin D is probably your main influencer for helping calcium absorption and utilization. Trace them out that fulvic acid we talked about. Doing a shot glass of fulvic minerals once a day, or particularly those of you who exercise right before exercise, or those of you who get in a sauna regularly. It's a great source of trace minerals, readily available. If they're not organically bound, your body's going to pee them out, and you might see a little bit of a higher conductivity come out. And so if you start taking them and you see your sugar to salt ratio, that conductivity ratio, go up from a 1 to 5 to a 1 to 6, 1 to 7, and you see it in association with a product, and B vitamins will do that. You got to watch, if you're taking those B100s and stuff, like, I can't get my salts down. That's probably the B vitamins. But you got to watch for those type of things. Floaters are historically, and a lot of people in the natural community will say floaters are associated with parasites. And you'll see that people who have parasitic burdens can have a higher degree of floaters hanging out there. Particularly, you can see it with people who are moldies, the people who have mold growing up in their sinuses, and a little bit getting a little wacky in their head because of the mold affecting their brain firing and signaling, but floaters are, you got these fluids up here in your head, neck, and throat, and they got to drain, and those are called AGE, advanced glycation end products. And so the only substance I've ever seen suggested is L-carnosine, CARNOSINE. And if you do an L-carnosine 0.1% eye drop, the problem is L-carnosine eye drops were shown to dissolve cataracts. And Russian research, they were using it in both rabbits and dogs. He was literally watching cataracts disappear in these rabbits and dogs over a 3 to 12 week, over a 3-month period, 3 to 6 month period. And so what happened was because it was a Russian patent, people in America started picking it up and making acetyl L-carnosine eye drops and promoting them for cataracts. Well, the guy from Russia said, "Hey, wait a minute, I got a patent on that." And they're like, "Well, you don't have a patent here." And so there was lawsuits going on there. But then the FDA got flagged that here's these people that are sending out eye drops for cataract treatment. And so the FDA started attacking the companies that were making it. And to now, you could still buy them. And but guess what? When you look at the box says nothing that L-carnosine is in there. You have to. It just says that it's saltwater saline drops for wetting your eyes. But then when you open up the package insert, it says inactive ingredient, acetyl L-carnosine 1%. And that's the only way that they could sell it. It can't be on the outside of the box. It cannot be promoted as being an L-carnosine because the FDA. So it's called Bright Eyes 3. Why Bright Eyes 3? Because the first one was Bright Eyes 2, because the FDA kept making them yanking it. And finally, Bright Eyes 3 is where, we have the eye drops. They come in little droppers, you put them in. And what it does is it helps to eliminate the waste, those advanced glycation end products. So people who are prone to forming cataracts or fear forming cataracts or have floaters, acetyl L-carnosine is what can help to promote that to be eliminated out of the eye a little bit more effectively. And so that we keep those eye drops back there for people. Let's see. Requested from my wife, we're just starting homeopathy and would love to see a crash course show for real. Wow. People, I studied homeopathy for 4 years in medical school. I took all the advanced classes. And there is no such thing as a crash course in homeopathy. Because if you're truly going to study homeopathy, you have to understand taking a case. You have to understand how to take symptoms, how to use a materia medica to identify. Once you repertorize, it's called repertorizing. You take the symptoms, you go to a repertory, and you find that symptom. You find the most common recipes that or reagents or homeopathic remedies that are falling into that symptom category. You find your primary symptoms, you find what remedy keeps falling in your symptom patterns. Then you go to a materia medica and you look at it and say, okay, which one of these fits this person the best? You know, it's not like, hey, I got a headache, what remedy do I take? Well, there's about 3,000 of them to choose from, you know. And so there are what's called polycrests homeopathics. There's ways to how to understand looking at homeopathy, you know, in what remedies to do. But that is, homeopathy is a whole study in itself, people. And I cannot do a crash course in homeopathy. I can sit there and give you some insights to it, but the homeopathy it took years of study and memorization of looking at these pathways. I do have some cheat sheets, you know, that say, hey, for acute remedies, these are the most common remedies. So there's a difference between constitutional homeopathy, where you're giving a high potency remedy to stimulate the body in a constitutional way to repair, or acute prescribing, where you're using low potency remedies from 6x to 30C potencies and on a regular basis to treat acute symptoms. And that's where you'd have to keep it if you're going to teach the basis of homeopathy. Let's see. Have you ever heard about vitamin K2? Helps with calcium to be absorbed and corrected. Okay. Yeah, K2 is a great thing. They usually are applying it with vitamin D. K2 does help to, interesting how K2 helps to mobilize that yucky calcium that's building up in our bodies. But I heard Betty Rheems talk about something else that we take that can mobilize calcium in the body and help it to be utilized, and that's apple cider vinegar. And so when people are more alkaline in state, the pHs are staying above. I usually say if you're above 6.6, you know, if you're 6.6 or up, you could do apple cider vinegar up to a tablespoon in a little bit of water before meals. In apple cider vinegar is what Dr. Carrie Rheems, according to Betty Rheems, because I never read it anywhere, but I've heard Betty say it more than once. Betty, and you can confirm that in the thing, that apple cider vinegar helps to mobilize those calciums. And I remember we had one of our earlier retreats. We had a guy who had been taking apple cider vinegar, and you never would have believed that the guy was, you know, as old as what he was. And he attributed all of it to apple cider vinegar for 30 years of use. Let's see here. Do you have a place on your website to order supplements like Colloidal Silver? No. I do not sell through my Pittsburgh Alternative Health website. If you know what you want, or if you're looking for something, you can email us, and we can. We do have all kinds of supplements. I thank you for wanting to purchase from me. We basically do standard markup or suggested retail price. You know, and every now and then, like we just got through 15% sale for the month of for Valentine's, and carried it through the month. Does Daily have the fulvic minerals? No. Daily does have a colloidal mineral, which is TJ Clark's, and it doesn't have the whole humic and fulvics. We carry the fulvics. It's in a quart-sized jar. They're about $30 for a quart, and we have both fulvic acid, we have humic, and we have a mixture called Inner Vitality that's half and half, fulvic and humic. And that's the one that I typically use the most of. Sounds like can see. Yep. Hi, Connie. I ordered the Energy Boost 70. Yep. Fulvic minerals from Doc. They're by Morningstar Minerals. Yes, they are. Yes. Apple cider vinegar helps with calciums to go where they are needed. Well, thank you. I know that we had no particular subject. We were talking about what we would talk about today, and I said, let's just talk, and we did. I hope you enjoyed this show. We have 39 people, but I don't see 39 thumbs up. So please, 39, let's give those thumbs up, people. That is actually going to help us. If you're on, take that moment and hit thumbs up. Just, you know, because I don't know how they do these stupid stats. We're looking at how to get this. I think it's crazy that we have 39 people that's coming on and watching these shows. And by next week, we might have had 100 watch it. People, we got to get this word out. How do we do this? We had somebody suggest a website that would help promote and put us out there. We're talking about considering these things, but bottom line, it comes from grassroots. If you think this is important, please share. Please tell people to tune in. Because we're getting ready to do a retreat. We're trying to build a retreat center. We want to teach and bring on gardening. Betty, if you want to get Arden Anderson or John Frank, and we can get them on a show, and you can join us and we could do a show about agriculture, please, let's do it. I want to get Paul Braddock, another person who has walked along with Dr. Rheems, wonderful friend of Betty, incredible stories, about RBTI. Let's get these people on the show. Let's bring them on and let's have some conversations and just, but people, for 39, it's not that you're not worth it, but this information really needs to get out there because RBTI is just so powerful of a tool. And we're going to keep going back to the teaching and understanding these numbers. But we got to get the repertoire going of the show, having people talking about questions, and let's move forward. But thank you for tuning in. Annie, you want any closing remarks?
Closing remarks? No. Well, I guess we could ask people to throw out a couple topics if there's anything they want us to discuss, maybe for Wednesday. I think that's a good remark to leave.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
So next Saturday, we'll talk about that. There may not be a show next Saturday, or I will try to broadcast, but we'll see how that goes. If I'm on, I'm on. But otherwise, people, until then, take care. Thank you for tuning in, and God bless you all.